How's it going, everyone? It is Tuesday night, and YieldMax just released their family-friendly funds on Tesla, NVIDIA, MicroStrategy. The desired result is 25%, okay, which would be impressive if they do it. Now, they are going to employ a new strategy they don't typically do. I'm going to show you how it's done. It's very similar, just so you know, it's very similar to the poor man's covered call. I'm going to show you what that looks like, okay? You're in the right house, so stay tuned. Let's get into it. All right, I got my whiteboard. So for this, we're going to use their Tesla. Now, since the stock is new, and I forgot the ticker symbol already, I'm just going to do Tesla. Like I said, they have one for NVIDIA, they have one for MicroStrategy. Super volatile. I assume there's a reason for that. So there's a couple things we have to understand. They are going to do a synthetic long position, which means that we're going to do a short put, a long call. Okay. Typically it's somewhere in the 50-50 ratio. Okay. So this is that's a sell put, and this is a buy call. Okay. That gives you a 1-to-1 exposure to the underlier moving up and or down. In this case, it would be Tesla. Now, typically, with the poor man's covered call, you would do one of these, or you could do a couple different synthetics, but you would do one of these, and your expiration would be, like 1 year from now, okay? And then you would sell covered calls against it out of the money. So we're going to do call spreads, though. That's the poor man's covered call. So like if we would sell covered calls maybe, 30 days to expiration, that's the poor man's covered call. We're going to sell out of the money, because if we did in the money, our option is going to get exercised, our synthetic's going to get exercised, we'll end up with a net cash value, but then we stop growing. That's the poor man's covered call, okay? In this case, we still have our synthetic, so let's look at some dates and get some numbers. So we're going to be looking at a call credit spread, weekly income. Now, the first week they could skip and do this every other week, which is what we'll do. So we're going to push it out 2 weeks in advance. So you'll get paid on, 2 weeks forward, and then it will be every week after that. So with a call credit spread, same expiration date, okay? Very important. So the whole thing expires at the same time. And it's a sell call with a lower strike and a buy call simultaneously with a higher strike. Okay, so say the price is 100, you might sell a call for 90, and you're going to do a buy call for, I don't know, 110. That spread between the two is kind of, where you make your money. So this would be your intrinsic value. And again, this is actually going to be, and you're going to get a premium from this. You're going to collect a premium. That's going to be your, your dividend. And your buy call, typically you would use like your dividend to offset some of this. And the difference between your strike and the actual underlier, that would be your extrinsic value. But since we're going to use a synthetic, this is going to get kind of creative, because we're going to have 3 legs to this. And so let's go over how this is going to work. We're going to have 3 legs here, like I mentioned. First, we have to build out our synthetic position, right? Because that gives us a 1-to-1 ratio of the underlier. Now, when you're doing this, because it's a 2-leg, you might have a little slippage, which I'll show you in a second. meaning that think of like walking down the street with a rock in your shoe. One leg is going to be slightly higher than the other. That's kind of how this works. We're going to pick the December 5th expiration. This is the current price of Tesla, $399.21. Okay, it's the current price right now when I was making this video. We're going to do a buy call for 405. Let me back up real quick just so you guys see this, right? This is how this works, okay? We need a sell call and we need a buy call to make the credit spread work and the difference between the two. So right now we're going to do the buy call side, but we're going to use a synthetic, okay? That's what we're going to build right here. And then I'll show you the sell call afterwards, which is really just like a covered call. So this is the buy call side. So we're going to buy the call, 405. It's going to cost you $17.45. That's the premium you're going to pay, $17.45 multiplied by 100. Okay, that's going to be a debit. It's a 0.49 delta. Okay, that's very important. We're also simultaneously going to do in the same order, leg 2, sell put for 402.50. Okay, why did I pick this? Because it has a matching delta. The difference between the 9 and the 8 is what we call slippage, meaning that one leg is slightly longer than the other. It's very rare you're going to get them to match up exactly. But again, this is going to give us a 50-50 ratio to match the price of Tesla up and down. If Tesla goes up 10%, we're going to capture 10%. If it falls 10%, we're also going to fall 10%. That's what we're building here. Okay. So you do have to put up, doing the sell put, it is a sell put, so you're going to put up the $40,000, 250 to do this. You're going to get a credit of 1905. That credit is going to offset the cost of this, so you will end up with a net credit of 1887.59. Okay, that's like cash money right in your pocket that the fund is going to distribute out. All right, that'll get distributed out as like almost like a dividend. Technically it's a premium, but they'll distribute it out as some sort of dividend or return of capital. Now we have to build in leg 3. So that's going to give us, that's our long call position. Okay, and it's a long call because it's a bullish strategy. Okay, now we're going to do our sell call. Our sell call is basically, it's basically a covered call. Okay, that's what the sell call is. Now, the difference, if you guys remember at the beginning of the video, the difference between the poor man's covered call and the call credit spread is where the sell call goes. So in the poor man's covered call, the sell call goes, so say, assume this is Tesla, for example. You know, the poor man's covered call would be like 110 would be your strike. Okay, we're going to do like 90. That's really the biggest difference, is you're going to go under the actual underlier as far as where your strike is going. Why is that, you might ask? Not that you asked, but I'm going to tell you anyways. Premium, baby. Okay, they don't call it YieldMax for nothing. You are going to generate a sick amount of premium from doing that. I'm going to show you what it is. So leg 3, we're going to do a sell call for 390. Okay, remember, this is our synthetic. This is the current price, $3.99. So we're actually going under by $9.21. Our strike. This is assuming that it falls down. So if our option falls below this number, okay, we don't get exercised. Great. If it does get exercised, assume that you know, our synthetic rips up. That's fine. We capture all the upside, plus we get a massive dividend. If it falls down, our covered call expires worthless. Our synthetic is, well, you guys already know what's going to happen with that. You'll capture. 390 strike, you're going to get paid this in premiums, $25.55. Now, you're also getting that in premium as well, right? Because it's a 3-leg. So that means we're getting a total $44 or $4,442.59. If you were to add those two together, okay. This is the premiums that they're going to distribute out to you, which is great. Now remember, you have to put up $40,000 when you do that sell put. You don't have to put up squat when you do leg 3 here. And leg 1 is washed out by the premium that you collect from the sell put. Okay, so you're really just putting up that massive chunk of that multiplied by 100. Divide the premium by that. You get 11% in 2 weeks. That's your return. Now, again, you are going to be subject to the downside risk of that because, like, again, it is a synthetic, so it is going to track Tesla falls. It is going to track your covered call on your synthetic, right? Won't necessarily get called away. The risk here is assuming that if it stays above, right, your covered call just gets called away. And it, how do I explain this? If it happens before December 5th, okay, and Tesla stays above the 390, at any point, the buyer could exercise that option on your covered call, canceling out your synthetic trade. So you have to re-up it. I mean, not a problem, but you'll capture a nice fat dividend, but you'll stop capturing the upside exposure if your covered call gets called away. So you'll have to re-up. That's kind of, so you're subject to still, 100% of the downside minus the premium you collect. So that's important. It's a covered call. It's a synthetic covered call. So yeah, you're still, and if it rips up too high, if it rips up and it doesn't get exercised, it'll just close out, okay, on expiration date. Great, not a problem. They just kind of equal each other out. The problem really is only that I can see is you could get exercised before expiration. You'd have to do another one. The problem is, actually, let me flip this around. Ugh, my feet have fallen asleep. Okay, so the problem is, say we reach before December 5th and the price just takes off, right? You get called away. Your synthetic, all this cancels out, this cancels out, all gets called away. You get to keep the premium, you get your money back. Bob is your uncle. Wonderful. The only issue is, say it goes up to, I don't know, 405, okay? Now you have to create another synthetic significantly higher, right? Which means you can't write as many. And remember, you've already distributed out all of the options premium, okay? So it's not like you have this money sitting in the bank. It's called YieldMax for a reason. They're just going to give you all of this out. But that means that if, say, you have to buy at 405 versus whatever it is, 399, that's technically NAV erosion because you're not able to buy as many contracts. And like if it falls, you're still subject to 100% of the downside and you're not able to buy as many contracts. So the net premium that you collect might not be as good. It'll look good though. And if people reinvest, which they basically should just keep reinvesting as long as the fund is doing what it's supposed to do, that'll be great. So, or you guys can just do it yourself. I literally just, if you guys have the extra and you want to take a chance on yourself, if you have the extra 40,000 sitting around, you're like, I want 100 shares of Tesla. Maybe you have 100 shares of Tesla, okay? And you want to do this, if you already have the shares, whatever, you would just sell you know, you would just sell calls below the strike price. If you think Tesla's falling, this is a great strategy. Covered calls, the best strategy for covered calls is that the price falls. Covered calls are bearish. Okay. So if you think that Tesla is going to continue to fall down, this is going to work. Your shares will never get called away. Maybe you're long. Maybe you're thinking Tesla's going to, you know, run, but it's not going to be for 24 months from now. This is a strategy you want to employ, because if you never get called away, like, who cares? And that's it, guys. That's kind of how this is how this is going to plan out. So remember, you got to make the synthetic. A couple of different ways you can make a synthetic, but this is how we're doing it here. And then, yeah, that's it. Most people like doing the 50-50 because they kind of, again, they kind of balance each other out, and it's, you end up with this net credit, which works really good for ETF issuers because it's more money they can deposit out. That's kind of how that works. I hope this was helpful. If you guys have any questions, leave me a comment. Let me know if you have any feedback. Appreciate it. Peace out.